not last night, but the night before last night, I got like 2 hours of sleep, and then last night I got about 6 hours of sleep, and that is no one's fault but my own. Anyways, today I thought I would come on here and read a book for you guys. So I have Ruthless Rivals by L.J. Shen. Sorry, I'm looking out the window. There's a window right in front of me. Anyways, if you saw my last video, I apologize for the background noise, but anyways, if you saw my last video, it was my blind date with a book unboxing video, and this is the book that I got in that video. It's Ruthless Rivals by L.J. Shen, and the genre of this is dark romance, and it does have smut in it. And I thought that I would come on here and read like the first couple chapters or pages. But yeah, so just whispering. I hope this is relaxing for you guys. Again, if you hear any background noise, I'm sorry. There's a window and there's a road right by it, so but yes, so let's just start. So for Ivy Wild, my lawyer friend, who taught me that staying on the right side of the law is not only the moral thing to do, but also the cheapest. A person is among all else a material thing, easily torn and not easily mended. Ian McGowan, Atonement. Okay, so prologue. It says Christian, so I'm assuming that is from Christian's point of view. So do not touch anything. That was the only rule my mother had ever enforced, but it was one I'd known better than to break as a kid, unless I was in the mood for some belt thrashing and grits with weevils for the month. It was the summer break after I turned 14 that lit the match that later burned everything down. The orange spark would catch and spread, devouring my life, leaving phosphate and ashes in its wake. Mom dragged me into her workplace. She did some solid arguments why I couldn't stay home and screw around. The chief one being she didn't want me to end up like other kids my age, smoking weed, breaking padlocks, and delivering suspicious-looking packages for local drug dealers. Hunt's Point was where dreams went to die, and even though you couldn't accuse my mother of ever being a dreamer, she viewed me as a liability. Bailing me out was not in her plans. Plus, staying back home and being reminded of my reality wasn't something I was keen on either. I got to join her every day on her trip to Park Avenue. Under one condition, I was not to put my dirty hands on anything in the Roth family's penthouse. Not the overpriced handwritten furniture, not the bay windows, not the ditch imported plants, and definitely, most certainly, not the girl. This one's special, not to be tarnished. Mr. Roth loves her more than his eyesight. Mom, an immigrant from Belarus, reminded me in her thickly accented English on our bus ride there, stuffed like collared sardines with other cleaners, landscapers, and doormen. Arya Roth had been the bane of my existence before I'd even met her, the untouchable fine jewel, precious compared to my worthless existence. In the years before I met her, she was an unpleasant idea, an avatar with shiny pigtails, spoiled and whiny. I had zero desire to meet her. In fact, I'd often lain in my cot at night wondering what kind of exciting, costly, age-appropriate adventures she was up to, and wishing her all kinds of bad things, freak car accidents, falling off a cliff, plane crashes, scurvy. Anything went, and in my mind, privileged Arya Roth was put through an array of terrors while I lounged back with popcorn and laughed. Everything I knew about Arya through my mother's awestruck tales I disliked. square feet, the kind of space I couldn't even fathom, let alone envision. I, on the other hand, was stuck in a pre-war studio apartment in Hunts Point. The loud arguments between the sex workers and their clients under my window, and Mrs. Van parading her husband downstairs, the soundtrack of my adolescence. Arya's life smelled of flowers, boutiques, and fruity candles. The faint scent of it clung to my mother's clothes when she came back home, while the stench of the fish market near my apartment was so persistent it permanently soaked into our walls. Arya was pretty. My mother kept banging on about her emerald eyes while I was wiry and awkward, all knees and ears poking out of a haphazardly drawn stick figure. Mom said I would grow into my features eventually, but with my lack of nutrition, I had my doubts. Apparently, my father had been like that too, gainly growing up by handsome once ripe. Since I'd never met the bastard, I had no way of confirming that claim. Ruslana Ivanova's baby daddy was married to another woman and lived in Minsk with his 3 children and 2 ugly dogs. The one-way plane ticket to New York had been his parting gift to my mother when she told him she was knocked up with me, along with a request she never contact him again. Since my mother didn't have a family, her single mother had died years earlier, that seemed like a perfectly sensible solution to everyone involved, other than me, of course. That left us alone in the Big Apple, treating life like it was after our throats. Or maybe it had already clutched our necks, cutting off our air supply. It always felt like we were gasping for something: air, food, electricity, or the right to exist. Which brings me to the final and most damning sin of all committed by Arya Roth, and the main reason why I had never wanted to meet her. Arya had a family, a mother, a father, uncles and aunts aplenty. She had a grandmother in North Carolina whom she visited every Easter, and cousins in Colorado. She went snowboarding with each Christmas. Her life had context, a direction, a narrative. It was framed, fully plotted, all the individual pieces colored neatly, while mine seemed bare and disjointed. There was Mom, but she and I seemed like we were thrown together accidentally. There were the neighbors Mom never bothered getting to know, the sex workers who propositioned me for my school lunch, and the NYPD who came rolling twice a week into my block, sliding yellow tape across shattered front windows. Happiness was something that belonged to other people, people we didn't know who lived on different streets and led different lives. I'd always felt like a guest in the world, a voyeur, but if I was going to watch someone else's life, might as well watch the Roths, who led perfect, picturesque lives. And so to escape from the hellhole I had been born into, all I had to do was follow the instructions. Do not touch anything. In the end, I didn't just touch something, I touched the most precious thing in the Roth household, the girl. Chapter 1, Arya. Present. He was going to come. I knew it, even if he was late, which he never was until today. We had a date every first Saturday of each month. He'd show up armed with a shrewd grin, 2 biryani bowls, and the latest outrageous office gossip, which was better than any reality TV out there. I stretched out under a cloister overlooking a Gothic garden, wiggling my toes in my Prada pumps, my soles kissing a medieval column. No matter how old I was or how well I mastered the art of being a ruthless businesswoman. During our monthly visits to the cloisters, I always felt like a 15-year-old, pimply and impressionable, and thankful for the crumbs of intimacy and affection thrown my way. Move over, sweetheart, the takeout's dripping. See, he came. I tucked my legs under my butt, allowing Dad's space to settle. He produced 2 oily containers out of a plastic bag and handed me one. You look horrible, I observed, cracking open my container. The scent of nutmeg and saffron crawled into my nose, making my mouth water. My father was flushed and shadow-eyed, his face stamped with a grimace. Well, you look fantastic, as per usual. He kissed my cheek, settling against the column in front of me so we were face to face. I nudged the food with my plastic fork. Soft pieces of chicken fell apart over a pillow of rice. I scooped a bite into my mouth, closing my eyes. I could eat this 3 times a day, every day. ice and slipping it between my lips. But that explains things. Explains what? He looked alert. I thought you looked a little off. It's a pain in the neck, but I've danced this dance before. How's business? Actually, I'd like your opinion about a client. I'd begun launching into a topic when his phone vibrated in his pocket again. I squinted at the fountain in the center of the garden, wordlessly indicating that it was okay for him to take the call. Dad pulled a paper napkin from the takeout bag, instead patting it along his forehead. Cloud sheet paper stuck to his sweat. The temperature was below 35 degrees. What business did this man have, sweaty buckets? And how's Jillian? He raised his voice an octave. A sense of calamity, like a faint, barely visible crack in a wall, crawled over my skin. I thought you said her grandma had hip surgery last week. I asked my secretary to send her flowers. Of course he had. Dad was a constant I could trust, while my mom was a day late and a dollar short kind of parent, always the last to figure out what I was going through, oblivious to my feelings. MIA during pivotal moments in my life, Dad remembered the birthdays, the graduation dates, and what I'd worn for my friends' bat mitzvahs. He'd been there during the breakups, the girl drama, and the incorporation of my company, going over the fine print with me. He was a mother, a father, a sibling, and a comrade, an anchor in the troubled sea of life. Graham's joy is mine. I handed him my paper napkins, eyeing him curiously, already bossing Jillian's mom around. Listen, are you? His phone buzzed for the third time in a minute. You should take that. No, no. He glanced around us, looking as white as a sheet. Whoever is trying to call you is not going to go away. Really, Ari, I'd rather hear about your week. It was good, eventful, and it passed. No answer. I pointed to what I assumed was the cause of his strange behavior. With a heavy sigh and a healthy dose of resignation, Dad finally pulled his phone out and presented it to his ear so tightly. The shell whitened to ivory. Conrad Roth speaking. Yes, yes, he paused, his eyes dancing maniacally. His biryani bowl slipped from between his fingers, collapsing over the ancient stone. I tried to catch it in vain. Yes, I know. Thank you. I do have representation. No, I won't be making a comment. Representation, a comment for an audit. People floated along the bows. Tourists crouched to take pictures of the garden. A swarm of children spun around the columns, their laughter like church bells. I stood up and began cleaning up the mess Dad had made on the ground. It's fine, I told myself. No company wants to be audited, let alone a hedge fund, but even as I fed myself this excuse, I couldn't fully swallow it. This wasn't about business. Dad didn't lose sleep or his wits over work. He hung up, our eyes met. Before he even spoke, I knew that in a few minutes I'd be falling, that nothing could stop me, that this was bigger than me, than him even. Ari, there's something you should know. I closed my eyes, taking a sharp before you jump into the water breath, knowing nothing would ever be the same again. So that was the prologue, as well as chapter 1 of Ruthless Rivals by L.J. Shen. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I had to pause the video. There was a fucking fly that landed on the pages of one of my books, and so I had to kill it. I was trying so hard not to scream. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed those first couple of pages. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to read this. But yeah, I just thought it'd be a nice short video. Just whispering for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. Again, I apologize for the background noises, but I will see you